Okay, so Becky, thank you so much for taking time to participate in this PAAR talk. It's so important that folks like you, expert survivors, are taking time to increase awareness, especially this month, where we gather, a lot of information about human trafficking and spread that to our community, so we're more aware of what we can do, how to identify, and how we can move forward helping survivors of human trafficking. So I would like to start with, you can tell me your name, your job, and how does it relate to anti-human trafficking. I want you to tell me, about you and how you come to get involved with human trafficking.
Sure. Thanks, Carlos. My name's Becky Mackenzie. I'm an emergency medical technician with a forensics certificate with Operation Safety Net. I've never worked with an ambulance service, but for the last 25 years, I've worked directly on the street providing medical care to the homeless and exploited. As a trafficking survivor, I spent many of my teen years on the streets of Buffalo, New York, as a trafficking victim and mostly homeless. With that experience, I've become a consultant and trafficking victim peer advocate for Child's Place, which is Western PA local office for the Child Advocacy Center. So.
Okay, thank you so much. And based on your experience, and you mentioned that you are a survivor of human trafficking. Can you tell me a little more, what human trafficking look like in Allegheny County?
There's nothing special about Allegheny County compared to the rest of the country. Share characteristics of trafficking like any other city in the US. And trafficking, we're talking labor trafficking and sex trafficking, is pervasive everywhere. Hotels, motels, private residence, all potential venues for trafficking. And you see that in Pittsburgh as well. We've seen that in private residence. We've seen that in hotels. We've done rescue underneath the Birmingham Bridge. So, I mean, there is no specific place you can look at in Pittsburgh or Allegheny County and say, this is where trafficking happens. It can be upscale hotels. It can be right off the street.
Yes. And what are some of the red flags that someone may be a victim of trafficking?
There's a variety. Some are more overt, some are more subtle. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Some of the common traits we look at, especially with kids who are being sex trafficked, the signs of physical abuse, very reticent, will not speak with anybody, especially authority figures, or else they'll tell authority figures what they think they want to hear. If there's an adult around, they won't talk at all. They'll let the adult speak for them. They may be unfamiliar with the neighborhood if they've been kidnapped and brought in from out of town, and they may have no idea exactly where they are at the time. So if you ask them, where do you live? They may be able to tell you, but it's going to be vague. They may have no money or ID or a phone, stuff that kids usually have these days, especially a phone. The trafficker may have taken that away from them. They may be working in exploitation industries such as strip clubs. They may be working as hookers right on the street. Nowadays with COVID, not so much the latter, but it's there. And they're in public sometimes after hours. I mean, I've been out on the streets at 2 a.m. Downtown on the north side, and there've been kids out there, and it's like, that's not usual.
Yes, definitely. Okay. And on the other hand, what are the warning signs that someone may be a trafficker?
Anyone can be a trafficker. I mean, you could look at somebody and think they're the most upstanding citizen in the world, and they could be trafficking kids. in person, over the internet. Be someone not related to the child, who bought the child from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a parent, a social worker, a cop, a religious authority. Um, there's no real defining characteristic. It can be anybody.
Anybody. Okay.
I mean, it's
All right.
especially tragic when it's a parent, but that does happen.
Okay. And what are the services available to support victims and survivors in Allegheny County?
Um, Starting from the top, I guess, with a immediate response, of course, is 9/11. Get the authorities involved. There's the National Human Trafficking Hotline, which is a number everybody should have available, 1-888-373-7888. I mean, that's one number which can connect anybody to resources to deal with a trafficking victim. PAAR, obviously, is our number one go-to with the Traffic Stop program, which is a 24/7 helpline, and that number is available on the web. I would say PAAR is probably I'm not trying to do free advertisement here, but it's true. There's also Allegheny County Children, Youth and Family Services, which has a 24/7 intake number as well. A Child's Place, where I'm a consultant, is more of an after support resource, and where there's forensic interviewing, where we can get the kid connected to other resources in town. But I have to say, it's a huge improvement and a lot more available than when I was on the street. So.
Yes, and that's great to know that we have all these resources now in place. But do you believe there are barriers to victims or survivors getting help?
Yeah, and that can start right with the child. And again, I'm concentrating more on the child victims of sex trafficking. The main thing is fear of retribution. What is the trafficker going to do if suddenly the kid turns and the police on them, or says, even threatens, I'm going to run away. I mean, I can't do this anymore. I tried it with bad results. Fear of the family finding out, that sort of public shame. Fear of being outed publicly by the trafficker on social media. That's a big deal, especially with kids. I mean, we have seen very lurid photos posted on social media of underage children. And I mean, that can be devastating. And on the other side, the victim may not recognize they're being trafficked. You may say, hey, this guy's really abusing you. We got to help you. And they say, no. He's giving me shelter. He's giving me a roof over my head. He's giving me love. And especially from a family who's kicked the kid out for a variety of reasons, especially with the LGBTI community. The trafficker may be the first example they've had of someone who seemingly cares for them. And so they may be really reluctant to say, this guy's, hurting me, exploiting me. So in a sense, the victim may be protecting the predator.
Yes. Okay. And where do you typically see trafficking happening in Allegheny County?
As I suggested earlier, anywhere. As I say, upper scale hotels, motels along the highway, off street, on street, private residences, anywhere, like, for example, where there's social gatherings. That's another place to be looking. It's there. Sometimes it's not obvious that it's there, but you'd be looking right at it and it's going on. So no specific place, just like the characteristics of a trafficker, anywhere, anyone. Makes it kind of hard sometimes to separate out.
Okay. And from your experience, Becky, what is one thing that the general public can do to help victims of trafficking?
I'd say the big deal is awareness. Um, up and up until about 10 years ago, when I heard the word trafficking, I thought this was, oh, even me, I thought this was third world country stuff,
Mhm.
bringing prostitutes in. And no, not the kid down the street. Didn't occur to
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
And when someone said, well, what you went through, your trafficking experiences, I was going, huh? Was that what it had a name? I just thought it was all the dumb things I did as a kid. But yeah,
Mhm.
awareness that it is local,
Mhm.
it's pervasive, and especially with the economy, the way it's going under COVID. I
Yes.
think the higher stress for this to be occurring. I mean,
Mhm.
be aware that um, people living on the edge, as it were,
Mhm.
of the economy.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to be higher homelessness, higher child abuse. All
Mhm.
these factors are going to weigh into making trafficking a little more
I
pervasive,
believe so.
especially
Yeah.
on the internet.
Mhm. Um, and my last question to you is, what is a common myth about human trafficking that you would like to debunk?
Well, as I just mentioned, you hear a lot. Oh, it's a third world country. That's not our problem. That's something, you know, that happens elsewhere. Then they bring prostitutes in, you know,
Yeah.
from outside. And again, I
Mhm.
emphasize, no, it's everywhere. It's right
Mhm.
here. We got our own homegrown problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Not only that is happening abroad,
Mhm.
but even if it happens here, it's going to be in big cities, right? Like New York, you're going to have that in Florida, but not here in our community. And
I,
as you mentioned, it can be anywhere, any place to anybody.
sure. Rural communities,
Yep.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
vacation spots. I mean,
Yes.
anywhere there are people,
Yeah.
you got the risk.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Becky, for helping us, and the community with what you do and with, this part talk to spread information and awareness about human trafficking. Okay.
Well, thanks, Carlos. Glad to
Thank
help.
you. Okay.
Anytime.